The RTX 3000 series finally has an official launch date straight from Nvidia, but how fast are these cards going to be? And more importantly, how much are they going to cost? Before that, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss another video. So if we go over to the Ultimate Countdown page over on Nvidia's website, it does say right on the top there, 21 days, 21 years. Before we enter the future, join us to celebrate the biggest breakthroughs in PC gaming since 1999 and what comes next. So this is in reference to the GeForce 256, which was launched 21 years ago and was a huge breakthrough in graphics for PC gaming. And so clearly with this little headline that they have here on their website, they're trying to translate to us that this new generation of graphics cards that's going to be releasing on September 1st, by the way, we'll talk about that later, but I know a lot of people are saying August 31st, but it clearly says September 1st on their website everywhere. But in any case, they're clearly trying to say that these cards that are launching on September 1st are going to be another huge breakthrough in graphics, and I think we can extrapolate from this that that means that there's going to be a huge push for ray tracing, and they're probably going to be way faster in ray tracing than the 20 series that came before them, which were already way faster at it than the 10 series, which really wasn't made or created to be able to handle ray tracing, but hey, you could run it on them. So before we go into how fast these cards are probably going to be or what I think the price is going to be, let's go ahead and crawl through their website just a little bit more and take a look at these subtle little hints that they've been laying all over their website. So the first little thing that I found really interesting was the quote, "Let's not forget EverQuest, which came out in North America this March, sporting new direct 3D hardware accelerated graphics." So they're talking about hardware accelerated graphics, and that's clearly a nod to the hardware accelerated ray tracing. So again, this just backs up the fact that these new 3000 series cards are going to be a huge push in the ray tracing front and are going to be just much faster. The next quote I found on their website to be very interesting was the one that says, quote, "But man, those graphics. I was only getting 20 frames per second at 640 by 480, which is why I got a big advance on my allowance from my admittedly sometimes okay parents so I could buy the NVIDIA GeForce 256, the world's first graphics processing unit." So NVIDIA likes to state that the GeForce 256 is the world's first GPU. Now there's a lot of people that will argue that it's not, but for the sake of things, let's just say yes, it was the world's first GPU. And in their minds, if their new cards are significantly faster at ray tracing, like they're just way better ray tracing cores, let's say 2-4 times faster at ray tracing, that's totally going to revolutionize the way we play and look at games. They're just going to look so much more realistic, and they're going to play so much better with those ray tracing effects on. So yeah, I can see how they are likening this to the world's first GPU. And then the last quote that I found really interesting was the one that says, quote, "Where will gaming be in 2020? It's impossible to know. If only we could accelerate through time." So again, this is another nod towards the hardware accelerated ray tracing that they're building into their cards currently. The 20 series was never real great at it. Even on a 2080 Ti, you know, there were some games that even struggled to run at high frame rates at 1080p, but I'm guessing they took all that feedback and they really worked on the ray tracing front for these new cards to try and set themselves apart from the competition and give you a GPU that, in some cases, yes, will revolutionize the way that you look at games, because the games that do take advantage of it, which hopefully there will be some at launch this time around, like, say, Cyberpunk or something like that, well, yeah, it's going to make the game look completely different, and it's going to be, for some people, a total deal breaker when considering other cards from AMD. So before we talk about performance and price, I want to real quick touch on that release date. So I saw a lot of people over on Twitter saying that it's going to release on August 31st, and so that's what I figured it would be, but on their website it says right here, quote, "On September 1st, we usher in a new era with a special event broadcast featuring NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. Get ready for the hashtag Ultimate Countdown, concluding 9 a.m. Pacific time on September 1st. So they say it multiple times on their website. If you look at the countdown, it clearly matches up with September 1st at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So it is definitely happening at 9 a.m. on September 1st, which is a little strange because the GeForce 256 was announced on August 31st. Maybe they were originally targeting that and then they had a slight shift in schedule. I'm not sure what happened there, but you know, just to be safe, if you do want to tune into this like I will be, I would mark on your calendars August 31st as well as September 1st, because it is possible that it could happen on August 31st and there's some typos going on here, or the marketing just doesn't quite know what's going on. But I think if it says it all over their website, yeah, it's probably happening September 1st. So I would be prepared to be having your day off on September 1st, at least in the morning, if you're really into graphics, because I know I am. And honestly, it's been a long time since I've been really excited for graphics, and this time around I am. Now, as for when you can actually buy these cards, I've heard a lot of rumors going around, and I believe it's going to be somewhere between early to mid-September. So expect by then that you'll actually be able to purchase a Founders Edition of these cards. But, you know, if you're looking for a third-party card, which I'm going to be waiting for, and by the way, you should definitely be subscribed, because I'm definitely going to get a third-party RTX 3080 and do all kinds of overclocking videos on it. But in any case, if you're looking forward to that type of video card, you're probably gonna have to wait like a whole entire month. So again, Founders Edition, early to mid-September, and then if you're looking at a third-party card, which will be much cooler, much quieter, and probably be able to overclock much higher, well, then you're gonna be looking probably more like October. So you're going to have a little bit of wait for that. Just remember, be patient, because you do not want to be paying the Founders Edition tax. Trust me, it's not worth it. So let's talk about what I believe the performance and the price is going to be of these new cards. So in terms of ray tracing performance, I think we can expect these cards to be, I'd say, at least 2 times faster in ray tracing operations than the 20 series that's currently out. So let's say you're playing with the 2080 Ti and you're playing at 1440p, and on, let's say, Metro Exodus, you're getting like 50 frames a second. Now, don't quote me here. I'm not entirely sure how much that averages, but then you would be getting with the 3080 Ti, or maybe even 3080 with the ray tracing on, like 100 frames a second. So that would be a huge improvement right there. I mean, really, these 20 series cards are significantly held back by the not quite strong enough ray tracing cores. So it'd be great to see that happen, and I'm sure they're going to be pushing their DLSS as well, which will probably be improved. And man, if they can get that working on a global scale, AMD's in some big trouble, because that means that AMD has to basically compete with NVIDIA running at 1080p while they're running at 4K. So we'll see what happens there. But if I was AMD, I'd be a little bit nervous. Now, with all that ray tracing stuff out of the way, let's talk about rasterization performance, or the FP32 performance, the traditional performance that you expect out of a graphics card in, say, games like DirectX 11, all the games you're playing right now. This is the most important factor of performance. Ray tracing is cool and all, but how fast can we play our games we're playing right now and in the near future? Because a lot of those games just simply won't have ray tracing yet. So for the 3080 Ti, I believe it's going to land somewhere between 35 and 45% performance jump over the 2080 Ti. My money's on 40%, but again, we'll see what happens when they launch. As for the RTX 3080, I believe this is going to land somewhere between 10 and 20% faster than the 2080 Ti. And I believe the 3080 is going to be based off of the same die as the 3080 Ti, simply because I just don't see any way they could possibly sell you another 80 class card with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. I mean, it's been way too long. We really need to move up to at least 10 gigabytes. So that'll be interesting to get a significantly faster card with more VRAM. I think the 3080 is going to be, if the price is right, which we'll talk about in a minute, a really great card to buy. And now finally the 3070, and I think this one's going to be probably one of the most popular GPUs over the coming years, because again, if they can get the price right, I think this thing is going to land somewhere between 15 and 5% slower than an RTX 2080 Ti. So a lot of people, and especially reviewers, are going to look at that, and let's say it's 15% slower than the 2080 Ti. They're going to say, wow, this card is X amount of dollars, way cheaper than a 2080 Ti, but it's almost just as fast, so you should definitely go out and buy this. I can see a lot of people saying that. But again, it all comes down to price. So let's go ahead and talk about that before we wrap this whole video up. So we don't know for sure what the price is going to be, but for the 3080 Ti, I believe it's going to land somewhere between $799 and $999 MSRP. So $999 MSRP, by the way, would be the exact same price as the 2080 Ti, because although that thing has an MSRP of $999, you could really never find it for under $1,200. I'm hoping this time around things change. $999 is still way too expensive for a single graphics card. I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous to be spending that amount of money on a card to play games with a higher frame rate. I don't quite understand that. I remember when I was younger, I thought that it was really cool to buy these really fast, expensive graphics cards, but looking at it now, it's like, why wouldn't you put a down payment on a new car for that? Like, that's a little bit too much for me. Now, as for the RTX 3080, I believe this is going to come in with an MSRP between $599 and $699. Again, $599, to me, that's a pretty fair price, and I wouldn't hesitate to drop that cash on that card. Even though it's really expensive, I could definitely do it, and, you know, I really wouldn't regret it. But at $699, and let's say it's $799 for the Founders Edition, oof, that hurts for an 80 class GPU. That is way too expensive in my opinion, but we never know what could happen. They could end up doing that. Now for the 3070, I believe it'll land somewhere between $399 and $499 for the MSRP. Again, Founders Edition, slap another $100 on there, and you won't be able to find anything but a Founders Edition probably for a month after these things launch. But if it does come in at $399, despite the fact that that's still really expensive for a video card, I'd say that's a pretty fair price, and I think they'd get a whole lot more people to jump on board this time around, especially if ray tracing is much more powerful, like I believe it's going to be. But in any case, that's just what I think. What do you think the performance and price of the RTX 3000 series is going to be? I'd love to know what you think in the comments below, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, Nvidia and Intel drop prices. Also, if you want to see more, click here. You won't be disappointed.